According to my clock, it's 12:01. So we'll go ahead and get this kicked off. Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining. My name is Scott Anton, and I manage business development with Gideon Taylor. I am very excited to be kicking off this month's edition of our Lunch and Learn series. And today's webinar features the state of Tennessee talking about their special qualifying events eForms solution they built to complement benefits administration inside PeopleSoft. A couple of quick housekeeping items. Everybody will receive a link to this recording. It usually takes a few days to get those sent out after the webinar, but feel free to review it at your leisure, share it with others if there are others at your organization that might be interested in a topic like this. We do host these lunch and learns on a monthly basis. For the most part, they focus on different eForms solutions that organizations are creating, as well as sometimes they focus on specific eForms features that Gideon Taylor might be highlighting. We also have ones coming up that will focus on our digital assistant, IDA, as well as our web UX customized portal solutions and a variety of other topics and tidbits. If you have questions during today's session, please feel free to pose those in the chat or in the Q&A. We will be monitoring those as we go along. Some of those we might just go ahead and respond to in the chat, or we might take a pause, respond to those live during the session, or wait until we get to the end, and we will have a few minutes at the end to handle any remaining questions that might be out there. I think that's it. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Karen Staten, Senior Business Analyst at the state of Tennessee, and hand this over to Ian Harris, Systems Administration Manager at the state as well. And thank you both for joining and sharing your innovations with us this afternoon.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Yes, I am Ian Harris. I am the Systems Administration Manager at what is called Benefits Administration. We are a division of the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, and I am basically our IT manager. I work on a lot of our IT projects, make sure our customer service platform is working correctly, and work a lot with Karen Staten, who manages our benefits support team on our for our PeopleSoft platform. And so that's myself. I'm going to be doing the talking today. For the people that are monitoring the chat, please feel free to interrupt me, to tell me to answer a question, because otherwise I will just continue talking. And Karen will also help answer any questions we have. So we'll start with who we are. And so BA, or Benefits Administration, is the state's group employer health insurance provider. We provide health, dental, vision, life and disability insurances, as well as flexible spending accounts for, by statute, all employees of the legislative, judicial, and executive branches of the state of Tennessee, and by statute, all employees of all public universities in Tennessee. That's the University of Tennessee system, the University of Memphis, Tennessee State University, East Tennessee State University, Middle Tennessee State University, etc., and all of our public community colleges. Besides those whom we are required to provide insurance for, and those agencies also cannot seek insurance products that we offer from elsewhere. We offer our products to any government agency in the state of Tennessee. That's cities, counties, public school systems, public utility providers, and they can sign on to our plans. They are not required to take our entire offering. They just have to take medical. So we do have a lot of benefit program structuring in our plan rules to make sure that our plan, only the plans an agency has signed up for, get offered to that agency and its employees. Besides those, We also offer insurance to eligible retirees from all of those agencies and the dependents of all of those people. Our current eligible population, which only includes employees and retirees, not dependents, is over 440,000 people, and we do that with a staff of 90. So the problem we had a few years ago is that, and had been having for many years, was that special qualifying events such as marriages, births, divorces, someone whose spouse was covering their health insurance, but the spouse just lost their job and were asking to sign on to our plans. All of those were being handled manually. An agency, typically the process would be an agency HR staffer. We call those agency benefits coordinators. They're our primary point of contact with agencies, although employees can call us. They would send us an enrollment form and supporting documentation. We did manage to do away with actually getting those by paper, either by mail or in person in around 2019, 2020. So we'd only been getting them via email or fax. We would have to assign a staffer to review it. They'd have to look to make sure everything was complete. Was it signed? If an employee sent it to us directly, it does need to go back to the agency for the agency HR person to sign, because I'll get more into technical on that later, but it did have to go through the agency HR staff. We'd have to make sure everything was correct. In some cases, we had to send it back, ask for additional documentation. Maybe they didn't send us their marriage certificate for their new marriage. Maybe they didn't send a birth certificate. We need all of that documentation. And once all of that, so that would require a back and forth that could maybe take days. Once all of that information was received, someone from BA, that BA staffer, would need to manually key that employee's insurance changes into the benefits modules in PeopleSoft. And that could, as I said, it was slow, it could take days, it was inefficient, and it's prone to error. And the volume was high. I ran a query, and it looked like we processed over 3,000 special qualifying events in 2024. So we have a lot of these. So we needed a different kind of solution. And for anyone who's very familiar with PeopleSoft and what it offers, there's an obvious question, which is, why didn't we just implement the life events functionality in PeopleSoft? It came out several years ago, and there were two major problems for us with PeopleSoft life events. The first one, and the primary problem, is low ESS usage. Like I said, we offer insurance to any government entity in the state of Tennessee, but those entities do not use PeopleSoft, or if they do, they don't use our PeopleSoft instance for anything other than insurance benefits. We are not the system of record for anything else for them. And so of our active population, only active state employees regularly use employee self-service. And there are about 45,000 active state employees. That's just over 10% of our eligible population. The other 90% of those people, other than the agency benefits coordinator, which is a handful of people at every agency, most of those employees, the only times they would have anything in ESS are at a new hire, at annual enrollment, and if we'd implemented life events. And so they don't have any real reason to log into PeopleSoft on a regular basis, so they don't know their passwords. Because of our password expiration policies, their password is always expired at annual enrollments, and they have to reset it. If they reset it in between annual enrollments, it would have expired again. So there aren't opportunities for them to use ESS, so they don't regularly use it. Instead, the agency benefits coordinators are logging into PeopleSoft to do things on their behalf, which also causes problems for trying to use life events. The second problem was that when the life events functionality first became available to us, we had problems trying to configure our approval framework to make it work. That we haven't gone back and looked because we implemented GT eForms instead. May have been fixed. That issue could totally be resolved. But that didn't solve our non-technical problem if the population just wouldn't use it if we'd implemented it. So the question is, could we already use GT eForms for those agency benefits coordinators for new hire and at annual enrollment? They could log in and key a GT eForm for their employees. Could we use a GT eForm for SQEs? And so we talked to Gideon Taylor, and they said, sure, let's do it. And so we decided to start implementing it. And now let's talk about what we did. So we have 12 different event classes that are in our SQE eForms. 3 different kinds of birth events, marriages, divorces, and several different kinds of loss of coverages. The form contains an update page, an approval page, and a view page, and those are security based. So an employee that's an end user at an agency would only see the ability to add or update their own form. An agency benefits coordinator would be able to add a form or update a form for any of their employees and be an approver for one that an employee keyed if an employee went into ESS and did it. Benefits administration, we have access to the entire population, can keep one for anybody. So there are 11 or 12 pages on this form. Page 1 is demographics information. So that, on the beginning, you find your employee ID. Another problem with people using employee self-services, they don't know their login information at those agencies. They don't know their employee ID. They don't know their access, their login ID. But agency benefits coordinators should know all of their employees' employee IDs, or they can search by social to key one, or by name. They can find their employees. So the first page, just demographic information. The only thing that's updatable there is really is marital status. And then it's just making sure you got the right person. You go to page 2, and it contains up at the top instructions and due dates, deadlines. We have time periods in which you have to start this process in order for it to qualify, and when your insurance will therefore start based on when you began the process of picking, and then you choose your special qualifying event. Next slide, please, Karen. When you choose your special qualifying event, that drop-down menu, we keyed it to the long description of all of those. So if an employee were doing it, it would be easy to figure out which one they were looking for. So they just says, adoption, birth, marriage, or change in enrollment due to divorce, legal separation, loss of eligibility for other coverage, loss of employment. Once a user selects that event class, they then enter the effective date of when their change in status happened. So when was the baby born? When was their divorce final? When did they get married? When, that does get tricky, when did the coverage end for you trying to pick up coverage here? When did your other coverage end? But the form, slide please, Karen. The form will, so you just key in your effective date, and the form counts for you what the coverage begin date will be based on our event rules. And then you go to page 3 by clicking the next button. When you click the next button, if there's Oh, sorry. Page 2 has the document upload as well. I'm sorry. Document upload is still on page 2. I said page 3. Below choosing the effective date, we ask you to upload your documentation. And the documentation it will ask you to upload is dependent on the event class. So if you are getting married, it asks you for your marriage certificate. If you are adding children, stepchildren, then you have to add their stepkids' birth certificates. For divorce, you need the final divorce decree, etc. Then you press next on page 3 on the bottom after doing that, and it does a validation. It tells you, hey, you missed one. If you notice, there's either a green check mark or a red exclamation point on those documents. So it's going to tell you you didn't upload a document that's required. That is one problem we have. Sometimes everybody puts it in one PDF bundle and tries to upload it once. They do have to upload a document under each section. But once all of those are green, it will go to page 3. Page 3 is add update dependent information. It will allow you to view any current dependents you have there, although what changes you can make to them are limited. We won't let you change your spouse's name. We have a history with that of people having a divorce event and changing their soon-to-be ex-spouse's name to something inappropriate. So we no longer allow you to change your spouse's name. But you can see your current dependents, and you can add any new dependents on page 3. Up to this point, for the first 3 pages, the user cannot save. And we do that because in our experience, through this initial section, if they save to come back later, they don't come back later. When they come back, they just start an entirely new form. And so we just have a lot of forms that only made it to that first step where no event has been created yet, and just hanging out there. So we took away the ability for them to save for later on the first 3 pages. Once they are done with adding and updating any dependents, they click next on page 3. It pops up this. Please make sure the information you provided is correct. Once you proceed, you will not be able to update the SQE or the effective date information without withdrawing and starting a new one. Do you want to proceed? If you click no, it'll let you scroll back through those 3 pages to continue to make changes, and then you'll get this pop up again when you click next at the end of page 3. If you click yes, then it saves the form for the first time and begins the event creation process. Behind the scenes, after page 3 saves and it goes to page 4, which we'll show you later, it begins processing. It kicks off component interfaces. It updates the BAS activity tables to create the new event. Then it runs the Ben admin process to pull the BAS activity information into on-demand event maintenance to generate the event, and it sets the event to a prepared status. Here's a picture of what that on-demand. In case you've been following along with the pictures, John Williams is getting divorced. On the page, what they see is it just, hopefully, it just, spins for a second and then eventually brings them to page 4. Page 4 is benefits eligibility. This allows you to choose which coverages you wish to change with a simple slider, and that will help determine which of the future pages will appear. And then you click next. So pages 5 through 9 are dependent on what kind of event they selected, so what plans are eligible to change, what plans the agency offers, and what options the employee chooses. So Page 9 is our health savings account page. It will only appear if on page 5, which is health insurance, they choose the consumer-driven health plan option, which is the one that is tied to a health savings account enrollment. So all of these pages look very, very similar to each other. It's medical, dental, vision, AD&D, and health savings account. Our life and disability insurances and our flexible spending plans do not appear on our SQE eForm, and that is because they are not open for mid-year changes. You can only change or enroll in one of those at your new hire enrollment period and during annual enrollment in October of every year. But on these pages, the user can waive coverage, terminate coverage, begin coverage, add the dependents they added to the on the previous page. They can remove any existing dependents that they want to add, change potentially their coverage. So if they want to change health insurance vendors, or if they want to change from a PPO plan to a CDHP plan, they would make those changes, or their ABC would be making these changes for them. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly just to let you get a look at them. Page 5 is medical. Page 6 is dental. Page 7 is vision. Page 8 is voluntary AD&D. Page 9 is health savings account enrollment and contribution. So they can also change their annual contribution amount, because the contribution limits change based on whether you are single or in any other plan other than single. At any point during this, they can save to come back later if they want to think about it. At this point, save for later is an option because an event has been created and is tied to this form. So there's no, if they try to create another form, at this point, the form is there, and no, the event is there and it's tied to the form. It won't create a new form for them. Page 10 is the benefit processing page. This tells them who the approver will be. If in the event that an employee is keying this form, they know who their agency approver will be. They can see it here. It just sort of confirms what they've got. It also has a second comment section. On all of these pages, there's a comments area. That comments area on the form carries through the form and is shown on the approval section of the form, but is only in the eForm. On this page, there's a second comment area called Employee Profile Page Notes. The Employee Profile page is a custom page that we have developed that shows benefits information to benefit staff and to agency benefits coordinators. So anything that is keyed here on this page in that section will then appear on the Employee Profile page. I think we have a little bit more information on the next slide. If the benefits coordinator is the person who is keying the form on behalf of their employee, their approval would be skipped. They will be assumed to have approved it since they're the one who did it. And at this page, the form is submitted for approval once you click next. Or actually, I think there is a submit button on this. Page 11 is the confirmation and status page. It will show a date and time stamp, who initiated the form, what the action status is, and how much time has elapsed between each step. It will refresh as additional actions are taken. I believe our next slide shows one that is fully submitted and approved with the timestamp. If it went back, because the approvers have the ability to entirely reject it, but they also have the ability to send it back for adjustments, all of those actions would appear on this page as well. After the form is fully approved, another component interface runs, kicks off the Ben admin process again. It updates the event with all of the benefit selections, and then processes the event, finalizes it, so it shows that it's now closed. It updates the benefits enrollment tables and our employee profile page. So everything is now, once it's approved, a process runs automatically. Everything is done. No one had to key any information, which is a major time saving and also hopefully reduces errors. If there's an error at this point and some information is wrong, everybody missed it. We have email notifications. There are multiple email templates. I'm going to show you some, but here's an example of what an email says. So that email says, go back to that email. Okay. This form was approved. This was a form you initiated. The system has been updated. It has a link to view the form. There are emails for the employee, the agency benefits coordinator, and the approvers throughout this process. Here are some of the email notification steps. We have one for if it's approved, if it's executed, if it's denied, if it's in error, and you can see that some of them go to central ben admin, some of them go to will go to the agency users. Here's what an email template would look like. So this one is for a form that was submitted by the employee. This goes to the agency benefits coordinator, the approver for the form, and it says, hey, this eForm ID for a certain kind of event with the coverage begin date of X was approved. This was a form initiated by the employee. So the ABC would get this email after benefits administration approves it. The approval is two-step. It has to be approved by the agency staff, and then it has to be approved by us to be totally approved. So that email would be the one that the ABC would get after it was finally approved. The attachment logic to figure out which attachments need to be there, whether it's a marriage certificate for a new marriage. Is it a proof of joint ownership document, which we require for marriages that have been in place for more than a year? I don't set policy, but we want to see that they're financially tied together still as a married couple. For deaths, a death certificate. For divorce, final decree of divorce. For adoption paperwork. And we have there's a logic tree that you can do visual if then logic to determine, in what circumstance does this form appear at all, and is it required? So some forms can appear as to be attached, but be optional. Like the proof of joint ownership document is optional, depending on whether it's a brand new marriage or an existing marriage that's gone on for longer than a year. And so our component interfaces, we have one mass activity gets updated after the dependent page, and after advancing the form, the event information is entered to mass activity. On-demand event maintenance happens once after page 3 when the event is created, and then once the form is approved and executed, it updates on-demand event maintenance a second time with all of the plan selections, and then the event is finalized, and then the enrollment tables are updated with the plan enrollments and changes after that second hit to on-demand event maintenance. The update dependent beneficiary page, we insert rows using the effective date of the form, and if rows already exist, it goes to error, and all dependents get verified when the form is executed. The employee's personal data page is updated with the date the form is executed. except for marital status, which uses the event effective date. And then we load any notes to the employee profile page. And the attachments go, there's a tab on the employee profile page that has all of our GT eForms attachments. So the attachments are loaded to that page where the any benefits administration staffer can see them, or the agency benefits coordinator from the agency. And I talked fast, especially where it got a little technical, I guess. Do we have any questions that Karen or I can answer?
We shall see. I was curious, the folks that are on the call, if you wanted to comment in the chat, if you're already using life events, and if you are, if there are challenges that you've found or limitations that you found with the delivered PeopleSoft functionality. I think that this is a really great use case, Ian, special qualifying events for the state, because of the unique requirements that you guys faced with your employee population and how they do or do not interact with PeopleSoft. And probably some of the unique characteristics or requirements of your business process itself. One of the things that I'm glad that you included in there was at least one screenshot, if not multiple ones, that showed the inline error messages, because that's something that, for whatever reason, I think is really cool, because I get frustrated when I'm dealing with online forms that are not GT eForms, and they just say that there's an error. Please fix the error. And it doesn't give you any description as to what the issue is with the form that you've completed. And in this case, you showed where it specified exactly which field or which section of the form was in error and what that error was. I like the fact that it specifically details what kind of document is required to be attached for that specific qualifying event that the person is submitting the request for. And it looks like we have a hand raised. Let's see, how do I how do I allow for Alyssa to come off mute? Hang on a sec, Alyssa. Let me just.
I think I can just click allow mic if you want. Oh, maybe
yeah, I'm able to talk.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
You got a question?
I just have a question. Yeah. You said that the form kicks off one CI that opens the that writes the BAS activity table, which writes the on-demand event maintenance, and then another one populates all those elections and the dependents potentially added or removed. So are you having a CI kick off from a not executed status then? Or is there two executions that's happening?
There's multiple executions that are occurring, and that's with the code within the form. So that's a lot more technical than what I can answer. But I do know that there's multiple, because there's multiple CIs. There's one CI that updates BAS activity. There's one CI that kicks off Ben admin. And then there's a CI that says, okay, this person's eligible for these events. So these, or not events, but benefit plans. So that needs to go back to the form. So that's what displays on the form itself. And then as the person goes through the form, and when the approval kicks in, that CI loads all of those entries onto back to on demand to the event, so we know what selections were made and changes were made, and then it again kicks off Ben admin. I do believe those are all multiple different CIs, and that's all within the code that's within the form itself, which is a little more technical than what I can answer.
Okay. Thank you. I'm wondering, we're starting to explore how to do benefit enrollments using either potentially eForms or the delivered functionality. So I'm really interested in this. Maybe I can get you guys' contact information. Sure. And we can speak further on that. Yeah.
Sure. And we get our developers on a call and maybe do some digging to give you a little bit more detail as to, you know, how we accomplish that behind the scenes.
Thank you.
I know this form was a little bit more complicated than our new hire forms. Our new hire enrollment is actually split into two forms. The new hire, which they key, you know, the employee information and demographic information and the date that they started, and then that is executed and creates the event. But then there's a second form for the benefits enrollment after that first one is. So this one, you know, is updating all of that information multiple times within the same form. So I do know it was a more complicated setup than the new hire enrollment forms were. And yes, you were talking about our use case, Scott. I think this is, especially if you're a multi-employer plan, that sort of is more along the lines of what we do.
Ian, do you have, or Karen, do you have a sense of how many of these on average you guys process in a given year?
Between 2,000 and 3,000 a year. So we're you know, that's 40 or 50 a week, which doesn't necessarily sound like a lot to me, but in terms of the previous,
we had to do them all
process of
manually,
having,
it would be a lot.
yes,
Right, yeah. And from a maintenance perspective, are there changes that you guys have had to make over time? Because I know that you've had this form in production for a few years.
This form went live in November 2023, I do believe. And there were some wish list items that we wanted to do in a second phase project. But then as it went live, there were some errors that occurred and some issues that came up that we fixed on the fly through, you know, enhancements. But the second phase project added the HCA page and also fixed, we had a major security issue for self-service employees, that component, because, you know, PeopleSoft doesn't allow you to update yourself. And so that needed to be fixed. And we did that in phase 2. And phase 2 went live earlier this year, January of this year. We had the other big implementation was the multiple birth events. So we have 3 different birth events, a regular birth event. You know, it sounds strange to get multiple, but it all has to do with when we receive the information about the birth. So is it, you know, current information right on time, or was the birth next month, you know, or is are we processing something that we got from, you know, this birth occurred months ago. So there's some timing. So we created these different events, created some different rules for them. And then there was also an additional, I think it was dental, a rule that had to be modified and implemented for birth events specifically. So yes, in that phase 2, we accomplished quite a few, even a little trickier aspects, you know, for the event.
Very good. And I see a couple more questions have come in. Do you have the complexity of different eligibility packages, which would mean that benefits are based on what the individual is eligible for?
We do have different eligibility. Unless I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, we have different eligibility packages, but it's based at an agency level. So it's the benefits are based on what that agency offers.
And we control that. We control that in our system, Ian, by the benefit program. So we've got a what I call a boatload of benefit programs based based on the different agencies and how they allow. Some agencies only participate in medical and dental, some, you know, medical dental vision. Some will allow even our EAP, employee assistance program, but they have to be enrolled in medical first. So that's all driven by the benefit program.
and some fields on job, I think.
Yes,
that
we have
that,
different rules that go with the
Yeah.
rule events.
We also have, there are some, there is a particular medical plan that only the city and county, like the local government agencies, are eligible for, that the state and higher ed are not. Which is a skinnier, like very narrow PPO plan.
Very good. Thank you. Carla, if you had any additional, hopefully that answers your question. If there's anything that you'd like to add to that, please feel free to post it. And then Robin asks, is this group under its own benefit program?
So we have multiple benefit programs. State has at least 5. Higher ed has 1.
There's 2 in higher ed. We've got, if you want to name the groups, you've got state, higher ed, local gov, local teachers, and retirees. And within those groups, like state has about 6 or 7, higher ed has 2, local gov now only has 1. It used to have 3. So it just depends on the group.
And which brings a question for me. Is this form applicable for retirees?
That's a good question. I have not tried to test with a retiree, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But I think we could probably pull one in and see if it works.
I don't think it is applicable for retirees, because if I remember correctly, retirees can only carry dependents that they had while they were an active employee onto their retiree coverage. And they can't add new ones. Although you could get divorced as a retiree and get rid of some, so maybe I'm wrong in that.
Yeah, I don't remember in all of our testing. I'm sure we did, but I'm thinking
retirees
I'm just
are the ones
unsure at
that
the top of my head.
Allowed to just like send us paper documents.
Okay.
We actually we still mail some of our retirees an enrollment form every year for annual enrollment.
Any other questions? You were very efficient, Ian. Oh, hello. Carla's got a follow-up. If the individual is in the wrong benefit program, how are you auditing that the enrollments are managed, or you will not have this scenario in your current setup? We have individuals change benefit programs and or eligibility based on their job data changes.
So benefit program is tied to the agency that they work for. So it would only be possible for someone to be in the wrong benefit program if they were somehow put into the wrong job with the wrong employer. Individuals do change benefit programs based on their job changes, but that's usually because they change employers and they move to a different group. We do have more because, as Karen said, state has multiples. So if a state employee goes on workers' compensation or something like that, they do get a different benefit program that they go under. But we do have our for scenarios like that, our quality assurance team, who I supervise, has a number of queries that they run that check to make sure all of our enrollment information is correct. So to the extent that can happen, we have a query that is run on a regular cadence that checks that. But it would be very rare for someone to end up in an incorrect benefit program.
And I think we also have one of our nightly jobs, maybe, that reviews benefit program. I'm trying to remember, but I don't want to open it up and it just pop up on whatever screen. So
I know if a job change, like if somebody goes from part to full time or full to part time, the benefit program change happens. Yeah, as one of the nightly jobs.
Very good. Thank you. Feel free, if you've got additional questions, feel free to post those. I did want to just comment on the fact that it is always exciting for us at Gideon Taylor to see what organizations are doing with GT eForms, because everybody's got their own unique way of doing things. This, as I mentioned earlier, this is an excellent example of leveraging eForms automation for some unique business requirements and some unique audience requirements for those business processes. If people have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help point you in the right direction, scott@gideontaylor.com. And Ian, if you want to, or pardon me, Karen, if you want to flip to the next slide, Alicia might have some comments about upcoming trainings that we're offering.
Yeah, I think these are in regard to our upcoming Lunch and Learns, this first slide here. So we do have we have both our June and our July sessions here on this slide. In June, our Lunch and Learn will be delivered. Here, let me turn my camera on too. Will be delivered by our very own Jay Jorgensen. He's going to be talking about guest access. So this is a question we've been getting a lot lately, questions coming through our help center as well about how do you set up guest access? How do you allow people without user profiles to be able to participate in eForms? So he will give us all the ins and outs of guest access. And in July, we will hear from our Los Rios Community Colleges group. They will be talking about a professional development form that they created for adjuncts and how that form also spawns an additional form. So they've added on some functionality to spawn a form, which is pretty cool. So they'll be sharing their experience with that. And then if you want to go to the next slide, that's where we get into some of our upcoming trainings. So there's a lot, there's a lot on this page. If you scan that QR code at the top, that'll just take you to our training calendar with all of this detail. A couple of things to point out: if you've got somebody in your organization, maybe one or two people that need to get trained on all of the details, the ins and outs of configuration and how to use eForms. That's our intro to GT eForms. We have our next offering in June if you want to pay for a seat in that course versus an entire dedicated session. So if you got somebody, that's a great one to jump on. And then we've got a couple new training courses coming out. Our configurable CI. This is really exciting. Allows your BA, your analyst, business analyst, to be able to create component interfaces and do all of that without code, with very little code. There's a little piece that's still technical. So that training will show you the ins and outs of that. We've also created a new training around advanced eForm configuration. So that gets into some of your more in-depth logics, like writing a visual if that's really complex. How is the best way to write that? What do we do in more complex workflow situations? So that's a new course. We kind of think of this as like our 201 after intro training, then 201 advanced eForm configuration gets into more of those complicated scenarios. And then for anybody that's on the technical side or Web Dev Lite, this is a new course as well. This is not specific to eForms, but really to styling and some web development within PeopleSoft. So that one, our first course, will be offered in July. So a couple new things coming up.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alicia. And you can find information on these on our website. And then we also have a specialized documents and training website, which is docs@gideontaylor.com. I think that's the case. Alicia, maybe you want to put that link in the chat just in case people want to access that. For those of you who are GT eForms users, just a quick shout out for our upcoming 3.7 framework release that's going to be out on June 1st. That's going to include the configurable CIs or component interfaces that Alicia had mentioned in her comments. It is also going to introduce eForms Assistant. which is included free for any of our eForms customers. And it allows for chatbot support for both eForms users to allow users within your organization to find what eForms are out there, navigate to the appropriate eForms for a particular service request, as well as providing contextual in-form help for those users. How do I fill this form out? What kind of information is being requested in this particular field? Tell me more about this particular request or business process, those kinds of things. It also provides full chatbot support for form builders. So for those folks in your organization that are maybe new to eForms building, it's a great way to get kind of a digital mentor or guide for creating those forms so that they can ask questions as they're developing those forms or designing those forms. How do I use this particular feature, or how do I automate this kind of requirement, this business process within my eForm? So really powerful tool that's now going to be integrated fully with GT eForms as of June. And I think that's it. So just as a quick reminder, Gideon Taylor is all about helping organizations get the most value and the most functionality out of their enterprise software solutions, most notably PeopleSoft, but we're also working on GT eForms for Cloud, which is going to be coming out in early 2026, that allows for you to plug GT eForms into any back-end enterprise software. So whether you're using PeopleSoft or Workday or Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, or ServiceNow or Salesforce, all of those things can be eForms enabled with GT eForms for Cloud next year. And then we also have a full array of PeopleSoft and Oracle consulting services, our digital assistant, IDA, which is powering the eForms assistant. That also can be a full-blown enterprise-wide digital assistant chatbot solution. I think that's it. That's my plug. And finally, I just want to thank Karen and Ian again for their time this afternoon and sharing some of the work the state of Tennessee has done. We've been proud to be a partner with state of Tennessee for over 10 years now. They have done some really cool things with eForms across PeopleSoft HCM and financials, and they've been a great partner with us on sharing their knowledge and sharing their experiences with GT eForms at various conferences as well as webinars over the years. So thank you to both of you and to the rest of the team at State of Tennessee. Keep an eye open for future invitations for our Lunch and Learn sessions, and feel free to peruse our website for additional information and to reach out and contact us if there's anything that we can do for you. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.